What's up, guys? I got one last Razer Edge Pro video for you. Today we're going to take a look at Crash Bandicoot. I did this on a previous video if you guys saw the gameplay on the train. Let me tell you guys how to set this up and how to get the best performance out of it and the best looking. My personal recommendations, you can actually be more lenient with it, like you can put things higher and lower and so forth. But this is what I recommend.
A smashing blast from the past.
Blast from the past, man. Anyway, this plays really good. It doesn't need much help, but it does have a lot of unnecessary
Developed by vicarious
graphics
visions.
things that they want you to activate. Now my battery's really low, so I'm just gonna skip by all this. Can cut off at any time. Let's get the gameplay. But before we get the gameplay, let's get the settings. I've only played the first one. I'm pretty sure they all should, run the same. But I've been wanting to do a video on this for a while because I actually played this I played it a few times on the train and on the bus, and it was pretty fun. So many games that were like PlayStation exclusive coming to Steam, which is great, because every time something comes to Steam, all I think of is playing it portably. Okay, so can we get the settings here? Yes, we can. So let's go to graphics. Okay, now this is how I have this running. So I have this running at 8x6 scaled up. Okay, 800 by 600 scaled up. 60 frames per second max. This is my recommended settings. You can actually turn this up more, but for me, I have to have a solid 60 frames per second, or at least extremely close, in order to enjoy the game. And putting it in 8x6 actually doesn't affect it visually portably. But you can actually turn it up, and it'll play fine if you don't mind seeing it in 30 frames per second, because it doesn't have an in-between. It's 30 or 60. And if you have it on 60 and it's running at its native resolution, it'll look great, but it'll be locked at 30 frames per second automatically. It doesn't have an in-between, which I don't like. So I'd rather have it in 60 and running at 8x6 scaled up. Vsync on. Motion blur is optional. It'll play better with motion blur off, but it gives a more realistic, beautiful look with motion blur on. Personally, I think. But if you turn motion blur off and you run it at least 720p, it should still play great and locked 30 frames per second. But again, you won't get 60 because there's no in between. When you go here to anti-aliasing, you can turn that off. That just makes it less sharp. Shadow, always turn that off, but you can probably put it on. It probably won't make a difference. I always turn it off because shadows in games always thwart performance. I turn all this other stuff off because everything I've turned on, you only have a 2 gig GPU, so you can't just assume that everything's gonna work good. You can mess with the settings, but leave it on that at starter and then work your way up. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's get to the first level so we can take a look at the gameplay. Gameplay is gonna be similar to the same gameplay I released on an earlier video of me playing it on a train, but I want to show you guys real quick before my battery dies. Some gameplay on this. So yeah, this is gameplay. Why don't I remember those two at the beginning? So you can enjoy this with no problems really on the train. This doesn't have a frames per second counter, but I'm pretty sure it's playing between 60 and I would say 50 frames per second on certain parts of the level. You can tell it's not solid though. For solid, I would have to take off I see that I will have to take off motion blur. For me, a lot of games look really good with motion blur on. but it does take the performance down a little bit. In fact, we could do that now. Forgot. Let's see what that looks like. Ooh, motion blur. Goodbye, motion blur. Apply is X. Strange button for apply. Yeah, it plays much better, but I prefer the motion blur myself personally. Plays very smooth without it. And faster. I just threw away that, didn't I? I feel stupid. There was a 1-up in there. Ladies and gentlemen, I did that on purpose. I am a professional, okay? Let's talk about how professional I am. Okay? I'm seeing frame drops. So, apparently the mask causes... Oh, shit. When you have the mask at... or whatever, causes massive drops in frames. Remember that. Oh shit, all kinds of frame drops. It could be because my battery's low. Yeah, it can cut off at any minute. But yeah, that's been performance on Razer Edge Pro. You can mess around with the settings. You'll be able to play it and enjoy it. Hardly any problems. So far. I've only played the first level. And when I was playing it, I didn't have these frames per second drops. That's why I suspect it has something to do with the fact that my battery is low. You know, it gets really herky-jerky too. All of a sudden. Actually, I never beat the first level. It's my first time. Oh, this is not even the end, is it? Oh, what the hell? But you missed 10 boxes. I did it on purpose. Okay? I'm a professional. Okay, I do this. Obviously not a professional. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys.